Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Edward Elgar Publishing Limited. They're an independent publishers and they produce very high quality research materials for their law portfolio. This particular book is called the Research Handbook on European Union Health Law and Policy. It's been written by a number of people, Tamara K. Harvey, Callum Alistair Young and Louise E. Bishop. The book's available both as a hardback and as an e-book, and it's also available on the Elgar Online series as well, and it's part of their research handbooks in European law. Now, Elizabeth and I talked about this book, and we've given the review title for our book review the following: A Scholastic Approach to Health Law and Policy at a Time of Change for the European Union. And that's exactly what it is, because I'm recording this review in the spring of 2017, just before a general election, and we don't really know where we're going at the moment with Brexit. Let's look at the book first, because that's what part of this is all about. This is the book here. That's the front cover. There is the spine, and there is the back. There's quite a lot of stuff on the back. Now, the back of the book, it runs to nearly 600 pages. You can see the index is quite clearly set out. And you've got page numbering, so it's relatively easy to find things. It's quite a detailed index, and it starts there. And then, of course, you've got the body copy. But before you get there, you've got a nice glossary of terms. Remember, it's dealing with health matters and the European Union, so that means that you probably need to have a number of words explained, and I do find that very helpful because it's very easy to misunderstand. Then there are reference materials referred to at the back, of course, working papers and so forth. This is actually all at the back of the book. Going to the front of the book, you can see the main page, front page there. And you can see the list of all of the books in the Research Handbook series on European Union law. Large number, actually, some of which we've looked at, not very many, but we've looked at a couple. There's the basic information about how to access the Elgar Online site. And then you've got the actual contents there, split into various parts. There are, in fact, 5 parts, and then there are conclusions. And you've got the names of the people who have contributed to the work listed under chapters, and again there's a little bit more detail about the contributors. I can't mention all of them, a very large number of them who are involved. Then there's a foreword, which I actually will be referring to. It's been written by Martin McKee. I'm going to refer to that in a few minutes. And after that you've got a very useful list of abbreviations, and then you've got the treatise, and after that you've got table of legislation, which you can see there. Then after that you've got cases, and the cases are set out in a particular way. They also include, obviously by alphabetic order, quasi-judicial decisions are also listed, and there are national cases also listed by country. Then you've got the main introduction by the 3 editors. Then you go into the main work itself, and you can see you've got a lot of very detailed footnotes sometimes. This is a research handbook. There's no great use of paragraph numbering or anything like that. You do have things like subheadings, but you can see there's a lot of paragraph numbering. So there's a lot of very substantial information in this publication, which goes with all of the publications published by Edward Elgar. They are of a very high quality, and we do rely on them. This is what we say about the book. With what the publishers describe as the steady expansion of the European Union's involvement in health over the past 20 years, which has been accelerated by recent events, the research material that we've got here arrives at a most appropriate time for all, both lawyers, politicians, and any watchers of what's happening to this particular area, both within the EU and the health portfolio. And as I say, Professor Martin McKee doesn't mince his words as a pro-Remain person in his foreword, which we actually were quite gladdened to read because it's a very straightforward statement about the UK, the EU and Brexit and what has happened. McKee writes, and I'll quote some of it, that no one following the events of early 2016 can be in any doubt of the need for a book that explains important aspects of European Union policy. We get this in spades, of course, from the 32 experts who are contributors to this research handbook on health law, and Elgar have surpassed themselves, we think, with this new piece of research, which makes our lives so much easier because they produce such well-constructed legal statements for us as practitioners and academics. Now, McKee warms to his Remain theme in the foreword, saying that the UK engaged in a debate on its relationship with Europe that revealed a profound degree of ignorance of all things European. And that, of course, is partly the problem, not just with EU matters, but with the health portfolio as well, because it's the lack of the depth of understanding. And, of course, that problem has to be balanced with the sort of new research material we have in this book, which has been collated so well by the editors. Now, the British people were not served well by the media, says McKee. Again, that's an interesting observation, one that we probably agree with. We know, for instance, that all about what we call the Brexit fallacies, and of course some of the health law inaccuracies that we do see from time to time in the mainstream media. Now, McKee doesn't stop there, of course. The UK media newspapers, he says, continue to pour out hatred aimed at anyone foreign, oblivious to the fact that most are owned by fantastically rich individuals whose commitment to the United Kingdom did not extend to living there or paying taxes in it. Interesting point. And of course he says the BBC were little better. So do read the foreword, is what I would suggest, especially if you're a Brexiteer, because it may give you some perspective, even though of course the decision has been made and we are on our way out. Now, a final point from McKee deals with the research actually in the book. Its importance within Europe is obvious, he says. Yes, but not just for academics, but also for those working on policy in areas such as healthcare, research and pharmaceuticals, which of course is the real value of this book. It's an excellent research tool from Elgar's European Law series, and it gives the legal scholar a contemporary analytical overview of the most important topics in European Union health law and policy. And we feel it has a much wider readership as well because of the vast area of coverage of health law, which is emerging, I think, in this century as a very important substantive law area. The book points us in the right direction of travel for every topic covered. Contributors have offered important research agendas for the future, Brexit or no Brexit, and that's what you get here. And the title is divided into the 5 parts, bringing together international, interdisciplinary contributions to consider the past, present and the future of EU health law and policy. So there's something for everyone, and that is actually not taken in consideration that we will leave, because the law will still be there for, I suspect, a very long time to come. And of course the changing membership of the EU could result in dramatic changes for EU health law and policy itself. Again, we don't know at the moment. The contributors consider current developments in the light of past trajectories, and they cover the following areas, I think, very well, and I'll list them because they're listed in all the blurb. Key institutions, policies on people and products, health systems, public health, and the health implications of the European Union's external trade policies and laws. And as I say, it's a wide-ranging and accessible book. So this handbook, we think, will appeal to academics and students alike, focusing on EU health law or policy, or both. I mean, basically covering the whole thing. I think it'll also be of interest to lawyers and policymakers working in or with the EU, obviously the institutions and anything associated with it, as well as health managers and NGOs. And as McKee says, it will undoubtedly be read by those who understand the importance of the EU's contribution to health policy and spread the message more widely. We do hope so, of course, but the scale of the challenge mustn't be underestimated. And I think that's his final point, and certainly ours. And the law is stated as at 2017, the beginning of 2017, and the book is actually available as a book. It's online, and it's also as an ebook. Let's have one last look at it. Nice cover at the front. The front cover there. Not quite sure what the front cover shows, but it looks very much like a very, very old painting of a surgical operation. Let's open the book in the middle. See what I said earlier, and that is a lot of footnoting. Probably a bit heavy on the footnoting for a lot of people, but of course the point I would make with footnoting is that does lead you, when we get to the back of the book, not just to the index and the glossary, but we get to all the working papers. So this is basically a one-stop shop when it comes to trying to find things associated with this particular area of health law. And as I've indicated as a passing final point, this is not a subject that's going to go away. This century is going to be about health with an ageing population. I'm recording this in 2017, at the beginning of the century effectively, but you can see as it develops over the next 50 odd years that this subject is not going to go away, and this is just the beginning of very interesting developments. So thank you to everybody concerned for producing this excellent book. Bye-bye.